Welcome, boys and girls. Christine here with Battlefield 6, playing multiplayer. And I just want to give my first impressions on it. I mean, I did play the beta. This does seem to run fairly well, though I kind of feel like, having spent weeks in Battlefield 2042 to get all the unlocks, all the skins, it kind of feels a bit, let's just say, different to play this. In a way, I'm struggling to adjust for a moment compared to that game, because like once you spend weeks and you've unlocked everything in terms of cosmetics, it is a bit jarring to come in this. Do I like the game? Yeah, I do like the game. I think it's pretty awesome. I felt that about the beta. Oh, there were 3 of them. I felt that way about the beta of Battlefield 6 as well. And I do think it's a fun game. I do think it's a good game. Though, of course, there is going to be the big discussion point surrounding Battlefield 6. It's like, oh, don't you hate the smaller maps? Kinda. Smaller modes, smaller maps. My reply on that is kind of. See, I do enjoy the idea of large-scale war. In theory. Gonna put that down there. I do enjoy the idea of large-scale war in terms of theory, but not necessarily so much in terms of practice in Battlefield. See, the problem with Battlefield is this. When you're playing on big maps, epic warfare, you know, 120 players, it's awesome when you've got everything unlocked. When you are playing through that progression, it genuinely sucks. You lose air fights because you don't have stuff unlocked on your jets. You lose tank battles because you don't have things unlocked on your tanks, and so on and so forth. You lose ground battles because you don't have things unlocked. So the combination of big maps, lots of players, and with a progression system that punishes you is kind of one of the big problems that I think Battlefield 2042 really has with making those large-scale modes work. Sure, there's also a question of map design, classes, etc. Those are also issues, undeniably so, but I think inherently the core issue with Battlefield that's existed since Battlefield 3 is that you need to play on smaller maps in order to unlock stuff, and only then can you really enjoy the big maps. And only then can you really make that gameplay loop work. And that is a problem. And I think that is a problem that Battlefield 2042 had. I think it's a problem Battlefield 1 had. Yes, I'm going to go there. I think Battlefield 1 did have that issue for all the great things that it did. And I do think that the way they've decided to quote-unquote resolve this issue in Battlefield 6 is, oh, we'll just ignore the issue. And we're going to make smaller maps, smaller modes. So if you, and push those modes to the forefront, so if you want to unlock things, yeah, they're available right there. And then you can join the big modes. I'm not sure that's necessarily the solution, but that core tension that exists in the Battlefield community with a lot of, you know, older school fans disliking this game specifically because of its more limited scale, smaller maps, etc., is because of that. Like, a lot of people who have played Battlefield for years, they want that bigger scale. They want those big maps. They don't want run and gun. And they're going to call it Call of Duty. I want to emphasize that this is not Call of Duty. I've played plenty of Call of Duty as well. Like, I'm not sure exactly why people think, oh, if you like Call of Duty, you can't like Battlefield. And it's like, that's not true at all. You can like both for different reasons. Which one you decide to make as your primary game does depend. I think, like, Warzone was a really good state for Call of Duty. Warzone 1 specifically. That was a really good game. I'm not quite sold on the idea that what came after that, or even the DLCs that came for that, were really good. Let me just reload. Let's try and take this objective. Oh, he's on my right. Yep, kind of felt it. Don't try and play an intense shooter and then talk about something at the same time. It's gonna bite you in the ass. But like that core gameplay loop of Warzone, of Modern Warfare 1, I guess at this point, did work very well. Let's try and flank around, because that's probably the best way. Like, just throwing yourself into the... Oh, he's behind me. I see that he's behind me. Let's ignore him. We need to try and flank around here, and then the objective switches position. Okay, then. So he's there. There we go, buddy. But yeah, I do understand exactly why DICE has done it. And it's not necessarily like, I'm sure on a marketing developer perspective, on a PR perspective, the decision was clearly driven like, oh, we need to try and match Call of Duty. But reality is different. Battlefield was going down. Like, it wasn't in a good spot after 2042. And it wasn't just about 2042. You can think of Hardline. You can think of Battlefield 4 and all the issues that game had. You can think about the reaction Battlefront had. Sure. And it's like, oh, but they redeemed those games. That doesn't necessarily matter as much as you might think, because you can redeem a game, but you've lost so much of the player base that by the time the game is good, and I do think Battlefront 2 is a pretty good game at the moment, by the time the game is good, the player base has dropped by a significant amount. So that's not exactly a situation, that's not an ideal situation for any developer to tackle, because again, it's just, you've lost the potential. And I understand it can be frustrating to say that, and obviously I am the kind of person who would have wanted EA to, you know, for EA to improve those games further, release more content. I'm not saying that. I would have wanted that for Battlefield 1, even World War II game. I think that was moving the right direction. But you can't just continuously release bad stuff, it blows up, and then you fix it later on. Now, sure, you might say, well, they shouldn't have sacrificed the scale of it. Fair enough. But understand just the kind of dynamic EA has been dealing with. Because EA, yes, it's gigantic as a company, but financially speaking, it's been a difficult position for quite a few years as a company, and that's the reason they were sold off to private investors. It's not because of, oh, we were doing so great, we would like to stay where we are right now. No, they weren't doing so great, and so they needed to change something. In fact, I do wonder sometimes if this entire game was less... it was actually designed less for the players. Though, keep in mind, it's got like 500,000 people right now on Steam. I'm looking at those numbers. And keep in mind, yes, there is obviously going to be, you know, the EA access. But you have that situation where you have 500,000 or 600,000 people playing this game. That is extraordinarily good numbers on Steam, but it might not have been about that. Kill count was not great, but we'll see. But it might have been to score the sales pitch that they had for their private investors. That's my perspective on it. I know that won't please a lot of people who say, oh, but this game should be this, right? I have a simple perspective on all of this. I just want Battlefield to be successful. I kind of don't care how it's done in that respect. Like, that comes secondary. If no one's playing it, it doesn't matter how good the game is, right? Especially for a multiplayer game. It can be awesome, and then no one plays it, and then that's it. Like, for instance, I like Wildgate. No one's playing Wildgate, so it's kind of pointless to say how awesome that game is. Or that if it's my particular, you know, and it fits what I like. Though, granted, as I said, I hate the progression system that we've had in Battlefield. I hate it in this game as well, because it's pushing you towards smaller maps. But it feels more comfortable, if you will, compared to some. Because, like, yeah, you look at the game modes right here, like we got Breakthrough, we got Escalation, all that kind of stuff. We got Conquest, but then we have Close-In, All-Out Warfare, sure, you know, with different modes, but on that subject. But if we click on multiplayer, like we click on multiplayer, and this is where, like, you get Attack and Defend, medium scale, small scale battle, escalation, combination of things. What about open weapons versus closed weapons? Honestly, I'm gonna say it, like, for instance, there I was playing Recon with an assault rifle, but it wasn't the assault rifle that mattered there. It was more so I needed a close range weapon, but I wanted to be Recon for the sake of spotting capability. That's the reason. Like, if you play Recon, your job is to Recon. Sometimes you do it with a sniper rifle. That depends on the map. If you're playing assault, you're going in close and personal. You switch between shotgun and assault rifle or SMG. It doesn't matter, from my view. I think you can make classes distinct. But that's my view on that. I'm sure any will disagree on that perspective. To me, what matters with classes is, like, is there a reason to play a particular role with a class, as opposed to just like, oh, I can use an assault rifle as a recon. Okay, I know assault is going to be better, but, I can use a carbine, I can use an assault rifle, I can use an SMG or a DMR, I can use a shotgun. Like, I could have literally just used a shotgun there. That's my view. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Costin signing out. And just worth pointing out, I got this game for EA Access. I'm not going to say, I paid for the ultra expensive version of this game. No. EA Access for me. Stay tuned.